All right, here we are. Hey, what's up, Ward Wrestling Live? We're at the 4 o'clock hour, and we have another amazing wrestling mind and coach in our country. He's up in State College, I believe, at the Nittany Lions Wrestling Club. He's also at the M2 Training Center, which he'll get into that. He was a three-time NAIA champ at Grandview, and I believe the only three-timer, correct?
At Grandview, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they actually have a four-timer now, so I got someone to pass me.
So you're still the only three-timer, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm the only three-timer. He's got four-timer now.
Yeah. And then two-time Iowa State champ, and he's here with us today, talk a little wrestling. Hey, Coach Thompson, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I was excited, excited to see all the stuff you guys are doing, so it's cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. And first of all, family getting better? I know they were sick the other day, and we rescheduled, but how are they feeling?
Yeah, we're all good, man. Just my wife changing checkup times on me, and then she didn't feel great. So she's actually 7 months pregnant right now. We're having another baby in September. So just trying to figure all that out, right?
Oh, nice. Another future wrestler, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, first of all, talk about these crazy times and how has it affected the clubs and the kids that you're involved with?
Yeah, so obviously, when everything happened and we originally went into quarantine, everything, we shut everything down and we're just working on, and you're at home with your family, which is terrific, right? It was really nice to be home with my wife and we have a 2-year-old son. So it was awesome to be home with them. Because it's not really like any other time in your life you get to just be home, right? It just really doesn't happen, especially for an extended period of time. So it was nice being home, but now we're starting to work on trying to get safely back to wrestling. And it's been nice to see the kids at the M2 Training Center. We're still trying to figure out things with the NLWC and some of those things, but it's been cool to see the kids. It's funny. I was talking to one of the other coaches at M2, and it's just crazy how fast the kids grew, right? Like they're all like, they got long arms and long legs now. And I'm like, what is going on, man? Some of our little kids aren't really little kids anymore.
Yeah, and it's only been a couple months, right?
Exactly. Growing like weeds, man.
What do you, before, I had a question. I read somewhere that some of the college coaches are talking about maybe holding some of those big guns back and redshirting them because they may get affected this year and just kind of wrestle in the underclassmen or the guys that are maybe right behind those guys. Is that something that you're hearing also, and what do you think of that?
So I haven't heard anything about that, but I mean, it wouldn't be surprising to see places, their schools do that, right? Because it's just such a turbulent time, right? Like, so if you have a red shirt, it wouldn't be the worst thing to use it, or or whatever you are want to do, right? As an athlete or as a coach, whatever your plan is. But yeah, that's crazy. It's going to be an interesting season coming up, right?
Yeah, I think it is, and we're starting to see the high school associations start to send stuff out and post stuff and talking about whether they're delaying, extending, adding, subtracting. So I mean, I guess it's good to see that the thought process is in place, and it seems like there will be something. It's just a matter of timing and stuff. So I guess that's really good at the high school level. I know at the college level, some conferences have stayed close, but I did read that the MEAC canceled all their sporting events yesterday. So yeah, man, it just sucks starting to go through that. But I think just get everybody happy and healthy through the whole thing, and that's a win. So
yeah, 100% agreed.
Well, first of all, what is forgive my stupidity, but talk a little bit about the M2 Training Center and what it is and what's behind it and what you guys do up there.
Yeah, so David Taylor, world team member, world champ. So myself and Mark McKnight and David and Mark kind of had the idea of starting a kids club in State College. There was a need for a youth wrestling club in central Pennsylvania. So luckily we were able to, Mark and David started off in a small building, and then a few months later I joined and helped them. But now we're we're in a larger facility now. Two little over two mats, and it's been terrific. Just getting to work with those guys more, right? Because we all work together at the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club full time. But now we get to do it with youth kids and we get to do it with high school kids. So we've been doing it it'll be 3 years in October. So we're starting to see like some real growth in kids and starting to see them truly getting better, right? From the things we're teaching.
That's awesome. And is it, I mean, I know who David Taylor is as far as the wrestling guy, but
Mhm.
doesn't he, I had Ken Shirtow on, doesn't he do something with him, like nutrition wise or camp wise or something?
I'm not sure if they're doing anything together or not, to be honest with you. I think David may have done some camps with him at some point early on, but I don't think anything recently.
Oh yeah, I thought with the nutrition side of things or whatever that Ken is doing, I thought he had mentioned something
Hmm.
like that, but
Hmm.
anyway, not important. I just remembered the name and I really have them. There goes my ADD, like squirrel. Yep. But man, that's awesome. So talk about your involvement in Nittany Lions Wrestling Club, and do the kids at Penn State work with both? Do they come and practice with you guys and go over there and wrestle during the season? Do they do both?
So, Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, we provide opportunities for senior level athletes, for kids after college. But I mean, also the college kids do benefit. If they're qualifiers for a regional training center, then they're allowed to come. The same thing with high school kids, but right now, is a dead period. So if our college coaches are in there, they're not allowed to attend, obviously. So we haven't been able, or they haven't been around much recently. But and then we do some youth stuff where we provide services for kids in the area. Where we also do like an introduction to wrestling class, right? We host a youth tournament at Rec Hall where Penn State wrestles. And that's been a really cool thing for us to do for wrestling. Guys like our guys do a clinic before the tournament on Saturday, and then on Sunday we do 1,200 kids at Rec Hall. It's a massive tournament, and it's crazy. It's been very competitive and beginning to become more so competitive in the recent years.
Wow, that's awesome. Coach Schwier just said, "The man, the myth, the legend, one of the best in the biz. You the man, Thompson."
Yeah, Jason's awesome. It's funny. Jason and I went to high school together and grew up in the same hometown. And then I ended up leaving Iowa State and transferring to Grandview, and Jason came to Grandview as well. And now he's freaking killing it at Rio Grande University.
Yeah, I had him on just when he first moved there. I mean, he was in this little office. I don't even think he had another coach yet. We were just talking. It was super cool to have him on. And yeah, I mean, it just seems like, man, that's good. That Grandview program is really spitting out some legends. So that's good for you guys. And it says a lot about them. So awesome. Now, I know you grew up in Iowa, and
Mhm.
now I think I just heard you say you started out your college career at Iowa State. And then what made you decide that, you know what, Iowa State's not for me. I want to go up to Grandview?
So yeah, I was at Iowa State with Coach Kale originally coming out of high school. Coach Kale left and came to Penn State after my redshirt year, and then I was there for a year with Coach Jackson, and it was just I just wasn't. I don't know, for whatever reason, it just wasn't for me at the time, right? I have a ton of respect for both those guys, but sometimes it just wasn't working out, and I actually was just I kind of fell out of love with wrestling, and I was like, worn out, just not making good choices off the mat, and so it just kind of adds up to you're not going to be there anymore, right? So
Yeah.
it was a good reality check, and it was a good maturing experience to leave, to be honest. And without that time in there, I think I would have missed a lot of things in my life that have made me grow as a person.
Yeah. God works in mysterious ways, right? So
Hmm.
Obviously you ended up where you were supposed to be, around the coach you were supposed to be around. And I had Gio Bonilla on, who's a kid up there now, and he kind of went through some turbulence, and Coach Mitchell got a hold of him, and he's got his first B average he's ever gotten in his life, and his education's going up, his academics are going up, and he's wrestling. So
Yeah, I mean, that's the power of Coach Mitchell, right? To be honest with you, I mean, that's what the guy does. He's terrific, man. That was I made the dean's list one semester, and it was crazy. I'd never done anything like that in my life. So that's a great, you know. But he's awesome, you know, and that's all you can really say about him.
yeah, look at all the coaches around the country that came from him. So that's good stuff. And well, so first of all, you left college and you decided to go hit the world team trail. What was that experience like? You did pretty well, qualified for the world team 2 times in 09 and 14, and then you were fifth at the Olympic trials. Did you get to go to the Olympics were you on the team as a backup, or do you have to
No,
be first two?
yeah, you just got to win to go. So I actually haven't. I actually did not, but it was great, man. I love wrestling, right? And I love training. You know, looking back, I kind of wish I would have kept training, but what are you gonna do? You can't be regretful about things. Um, so after, yeah, I trained for all those years and competed. It was about 3 years there, and it was awesome. You know, me and my wife moved out to State College. Just at the time, it was just a really good training, and still is, right? It's just one of the best training facilities in the country. You know, as far as if you're a full time training athlete, there's very few places that you could go that would be better. As far as coaching, partners, all those things. You know, it's a very can't ask for much better. So it was a great experience, and competing was fun, and living that lifestyle is fun. You know, it's just I was ready to get into coaching. I was ready to help people. You know,
Yeah,
that was it for me.
what was it like? And what's it like wearing the red, white, and blue, and representing your country across the pond?
Yeah, so I wrestled at a few tournaments overseas. It's always just, you just take pride, right, in being an American citizen and living in this country. You know, not everything's perfect, obviously, but it's what you know and what you love, right? And I can tell you, there was never a time I got to another country and I was like, wow, this is way nicer than America. No hotel room, no bathroom, no anything like that. Did I ever think that? You know, but it was a cool experience, and it was a lot of fun to wrestle over in different countries and get those experiences in my life.
So, what would you tell young kids out there that wrestling can really do for you, and and their life and growing up, and what has it meant for you to be a wrestler and have it as part of your life? Did
Yeah, I mean,
I ask the question a few different ways? You know what I
no,
mean?
you're good. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah, wrestling changed my trajectory, right? And a few times, right? A few times it changed my trajectory through life, and who I was gonna be and how it was gonna work out for me. If a kid wants to wrestle, there's lots of opportunities out there, right? I think a kid growing up, now especially, it's every kid wants to wrestle Division 1, and realistically, yeah, that's awesome, and that should definitely be something you're working towards. But it's only like 0.2% of college kids are going to wrestle Division 1. Wrestle high school wrestlers, 0.2% are going to wrestle Division 1, and of that 0.2%, each team only has 9.9, and I would say less than 50% of Division 1 schools have 9.9. So I think just not being set. If you want to wrestle, right, and you love wrestling, then there's lots of options out there, and there's lots of places you can go, and all those places have great experiences in tow for you. And I'm biased a little bit, but my experience at Grandview was second to none on what I could have asked for my college wrestling experience to look like, right? As far as find being around people who cared, being around people who are passionate about wrestling, being around people who wanted you to be the best, right? Those people were all there. So I think just wrestling hard and continuing to get better and just staying focused on a long-term goal while also accomplishing your short-term goals. I think just stay in the path, right? Having not getting discouraged by anything that's happening, and continuing to fight and wrestle hard.
So thanks, and well said. And what does how far has Iowa wrestling come, and is it farther along now than it was when you were younger? And I mean, seems like they're doing pretty good things out there. Talk about growing up in Iowa and getting to wrestle in that kind of hotbed.
Yeah, where I grew up too, wrestling's a big deal, right? It means something to be a good wrestler in Northeast Iowa. Um, and I had one of the best high school coaches in the country. Um, he's been in plenty of Hall of Fames, and he was awesome. And the high school coach now at my high school does a terrific job as well, and the great assistants there. But growing up in a place where people really, really cared about wrestling and cared about wrestlers in the community, it was awesome. And just going to the Iowa High School State Tournament, which is like, to this day, still one of the coolest tournaments I've ever wrestled in, right? It's insane. So I think, you know, it's just wrestling's an important part culturally to the people in Iowa and the kids growing up in Iowa that wrestle. But there's a few places around the country that it's that way, and I think um, it resonates with blue collar, and I think it resonates with people who like hard work. Right? Wrestling is the sport of the hardworking human. Period. Because it doesn't matter if you have this or that or other things, but if you don't work hard, you're not tough, and you're not going to be good. That's just all there is to it.
Yeah. So kids that don't live local to you, maybe like me, I'm down here in Orlando and I want my son to come up to M2. How do we get in touch with you? How does that work? How can people get their son M2 trained by you?
Yeah, so at the M2, so we are offering some camps coming up here in August, and right now, actually, it's funny you say that. State College Airport just started in Orlando, to State College direct flight. If you're down in Orlando, it's perfect. So they have a direct flight now. But yeah, I mean, we have camps coming up, and depending on what's going on in the fall, we could be doing some more camps. So, following the M2 Training Center on Instagram, following the M2 Training Center on Twitter. We always post our camps coming up, and they fill up quickly. So you have to keep an eye on that sort of stuff. And we also, I mean, we have practice for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday right now. So you can get a lot of workouts in 1 week, and it's been terrific because we have had kids coming up and staying with friends in the summer to train, all sorts of options. So
That's awesome. Good stuff, man. I hope that my kids get an option to go. I don't really care. For those of you that are married and think you're in charge of the house and the kids, I call bullshit because I'm married. I don't have control.
no, I know. I actually, my wife being pregnant, we talked about, do we want to find out like if it's going to be a little boy or a little girl? We went back and forth, and I was like solely against, or I was solely in favor of finding out. And she's like, well, I want it to be a surprise. So we compromised, and neither one of us are finding out.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I mean, she says that they're not leaving the house, and people bust my chops like, you're a pussy, whatever. But I'm like, hey, well, it's okay. I got to sleep with her, so
Happy wife, happy life,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I'm like, all right, well, they're stuck here until she gives me the blessing. But pretty awesome, man. So uh, I got some questions for you. You ready?
Uh-huh.
So State College or Des Moines?
Oh, I do miss living in Des Moines, and it's funny. My wife and I talk about it a lot. It was nice living in a city at times, but as far as raising a kid in a place, State College is tough to beat. It's just there's so much to do for kids, right? There's parks everywhere, really nice parks, really nice pool, really nice, just everywhere you could think of, they have things. So Des Moines, when I was young and me and my wife were together, state college when I'm raising kids.
Yeah, I like it. All right, so back at Iowa, you do the Reuben or the tenderloin sandwich?
Tenderloin sandwich all day, all day.
Adventureland or Heritage Carousel?
Adventureland, Adventureland for sure.
The
Adventureland was like the first place I remember like talking to girls. Like we went there on a field trip, and I remember talking to girls from like a different school. It was funny.
hold your ears, Miss Thompson. No. um, the Schultz or the Farrell?
I actually never wrestled at the Schultz. I only ever wrestled at the Farrell. So I'd have to say the Farrell. And I love New York City, so it was always cool. It was always cool going to the city. Yeah.
Scotcheroos or Dutch letters?
Scotcheroos. Yeah, that's a Pennsylvania thing, man. This is like all the Dutch food and stuff. It definitely very Pennsylvania.
So what's more prestigious, the 32 or the Fargo?
So Super 32 was not big when I was in high school. You know, and I think now it's crazy, right? I feel like it's just so tough because you have to place a certain place to be able to compete in the tournament and everything. But I mean, Fargo's this thing, right? It's like I remember when I won it and I had like 75 kids in my bracket. And I remember earlier when I was in cadet 215 is my second year there, and our bracket was like 115 kids. So I think it just kind of depends, you know, if you want to. Yeah, Fargo's tough because Fargo's hard to beat because it's as much of it is like how good are you at wrestling. It's this grueling thing where it's like you're wrestling like every 30 minutes and you don't know how many times you're gonna wrestle. You're just kind of putting your head down and doing it. So I'd have to lean towards Fargo.
I like it. Hawkeyes or Cyclones?
I grew up Iowa State fan my whole life. My whole family's Iowa State fans.
Oh, there you go. Back at Grandview, Bebops or Zombie Burger?
Bebops. The burger of the people, man.
Yeah. The Iron Man or the Jesuit? I mean, the Iron Man or the Jesuit, it's the same thing. The Iron Man or the Beast, I meant to say. Sorry.
Yeah, that was one thing that the only part about growing up in wrestling in Iowa that kind of stunk sometimes was we couldn't go to those tournaments, right? We could go to the Clash, which is in Minnesota, which we won my senior year, but we couldn't go to the Beast or Iron Man. But I'd have to say Iron Man. I feel like Iron Man was crazy every year.
All right, and the Iowa Chop or the Made Right?
Iowa chops. All day. Iowa chops. Thick cut pork chops, man. Can't beat them.
Yeah, I've had a lot of Iowans on, whatever they call Iowans.
Just Iowans. Yeah.
And, man, I can't. I do all this with everybody. I'm like, man, when I get out in the country, when I get out around, I'm gonna know where to stop now. I'm gonna go back and open up my book and be like, okay, so Jabari Irons. Let's see, what can we eat where he lives? Oh, pizza. Got it.
Yeah, you got to go any small town with like a little like bar and restaurant type place that looks like it like the neon light, like a honky tonk neon lights in the front. They'll have Wednesdays or Thursday nights. They'll be doing tacos. They'll be doing pork tenderloins or pork Iowa chops. Those are the best you can ever have, man. The best foods you can have.
It looks like you guys invented like the taco pizza or the breakfast pizza. It's like one or the other. They look good.
I remember when we first moved out here and I made breakfast pizza one morning and a couple friends came over and they're like, what is this? I'm like, oh, it's like breakfast and a pizza. And they're like, they just never had it before. They'd never even like, it was never a thing, you know, but they loved it after they had it.
Yeah, they're like, hey, bro, when you making breakfast pizza?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, man, Eric, this has been just an honor and a pleasure to get to talk to you. It's super cool, and keep kicking life's ass. And congratulations, another baby on the way. And
thank you.
And please refer anybody you know to come on the show. I'd love to have them. You have my link. And
Yeah.
Anytime you want to come back, you're welcome.
I appreciate it. Hey man, thanks for doing this, man. This is really, really cool. And it's good for wrestling to have people like you involved and doing what you can to help get other people and get the word out, right? This is really, really important.
Yeah, and it's funny, and I guess I'll tell the world this funny story, but I was referred Lee Kemp, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, wow, I don't have to be a wrestler to know who that guy is, right? Like I grew up in
Yeah.
America. He was in Sports Illustrated. He was whatever, right? So I get referred him. So meanwhile, I'm always online trying to hit people up to come on the show. So I send out, notes. Hey, come on. And I get off the show with Lee Kemp and I'm like, oh my God, I just talked to Lee Kemp. Like, like regardless of whatever, I'm like, wow, that guy. So
yeah.
Okay, my phone rings. It's Facebook Messenger, and it's Barry Davis. And I look and I'm like, he's like, hey, you want me to come on your show? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, who are you? What are you doing? What are you going to ask him? Me? I'm like, are you a wrestling coach? Who are you? You know what? I'll look you up and bye. And he hangs up, and I'm like, oh shit. So whatever. Whatever. I type in Barry Davis. I'm like, oh fuck, that guy's a legend. Oh my God, what I done. And I had no idea who I was talking to, and like, oh shit. So I messaged Bud Hennenbaugh and I'm like, man, you got to help me out. I really stuck my foot in my eyes up. So I reached back out and I'm like, hey man, I really apologize. And he's like, he calls me back. He's like, no problem. Just send me a link. I'll come on. Right. And then we had a great show and it was awesome. And he said, thank you. And he sent me some referrals but it's funny. He sent me a referral and a phone number. And then in capital letters, like all caps, he's like, make sure you research before you call the guy. And I'm like, I deserve that, coach. I deserve it. This guy's on the Mount Rushmore of American wrestling. And I just asked him, who the fuck are you? Like, who are you?
It's all good.
Right. But I was like, I felt like I had egg on my face, but it turned out well. And that's kind of who I am. I don't know. And I'm learning and
it's important, to have patience, as far as like somebody getting into wrestling, they got to be excited. I'm excited to hear about you getting into wrestling. That's really, really cool. As much as you're excited to talk to all these guys, it's exciting for me to see you getting into wrestling. And then on top of getting into wrestling, doing this.
Yeah, it's been cool. I mean, like tomorrow I got a 10-year-old kid on that's seems pretty cool. He reached out to me on Instagram. He's like, hey, can I come on? I'm like, sure. So his dad reached out and he's stoked to come on, and it'll be fun to talk to him.
That'll be awesome, man. That's awesome. Congratulations on the success and the growth and everything.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, and you have a good one, coach, and I look forward to keeping in touch.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.
Yes, sir. Take care.